weather seemed okay, and then all of a sudden, I guess it started snowing, or actually a mix of snow and rain. Let's see if it stops. They say we're supposed to get a huge pour of snow tonight. And what's going on today? This was actually really fascinating, where apparently there was a police drone used to potentially, monitor a crowd or something like that during the lockdowns here in Canada. And because of this drone footage, apparently it proves that certain people are, say, innocent when originally they were, I guess, charged. This one says, lockdown charges dropped as police drone footage shows too small crowd. As it says here, a pandemic lockdown charge laid against a woman who organized a November 2020 rally against COVID-19 restrictions has been dismissed thanks to drone footage by Chatham Kent Police. Laura Myers, 34, of Walsburg, had previously pleaded not guilty to the charge under the Reopening Ontario Act, which carried a potential penalty of $10,000 to $100,000 fine and as long as a year in jail. It says the decision to dismiss the charge hinged on footage from a police drone that recorded the so-called Chatham Kent Freedom Group rally. The number of protesters in attendance had previously been described as more than 100 in media reports, which, if true, would have exceeded the since repealed limit on public gatherings, then at 25. That was intended to slow COVID spread. Defense lawyer Antoine Daly noted the estimate of the number of people gathered at November 21st, 2020 protests had been provided by a Chatham Kent bylaw officer. The drone footage unequivocally proved that assertion was false despite his claims being widely publicized in previous media reports, Daly said. As a result of the footage, the charge was formally dismissed by Justice of the Peace Helen Gale on Tuesday in Chatham Kent Provincial Offences Court. A decision was originally supposed to be delivered on April 25th, roughly 2 months from now, but was rescheduled at the request of the Justice of Peace. And it says here the lawyer noted Gale had commented on the usefulness of the police drone footage in providing the court with, quote, a good visual observation of the event and those that gathered. The fact that the protest was attended by far fewer than the 500 people originally anticipated. Again, kind of an interesting twist to it. It makes you think again, where a lot of people say, ban the drone here and there. What if people are just using it to document the event and so forth? Look at how much useful, I guess you could say, proof you could gather, especially in situations like these, where people are being accused of something that's not true, where it becomes what, your word versus their word. So can you imagine they say, ban them all, you're not allowed to use it here and there. Look at all the times you could be using it in a useful but safe way. It does make me think again, with all the new information that has come out in recent times, for example, like with this COVID stuff where everyone can get it and spread it per se, were people on the right side of history to implement, let's just say, these types of rules and all that? Because in recent times, it seems like there's tons of news recently talking about how there's assumptions that the virus and so forth was from a lab and all that, whereas before, if you guys remember, people were getting banned just from saying that. Like here now, the FBI writes here, FBI Director Wray confirmed that the Bureau has assessed that the origins of COVID-19 pandemic likely originated from a lab incident in Wuhan, China. And it says here in the post, the FBI has for quite some time now assessed that the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. I would just make the observation that the Chinese government has been doing its best to try and thwart and obfuscate the work here. The work that we're doing, the work that our US government and close foreign partners are doing. And as well, there was also claims like here saying the COVID-19 most likely leaked from Wuhan lab, says US Energy Department. And in response to this, China is against it, as you would expect. It says China refutes FBI's COVID-19 lab leak theory, urges US to avoid politicizing issue. As China on Tuesday slammed the US for politicizing the issue of the origin of COVID-19 pandemic after the US Energy Department concluded with low confidence that the pandemic had originated from the lab leak in China. And it says for Chinese rebuttal, it says Foreign Minister spokesperson Mao Ning said during her regular press conference on Tuesday that Beijing has been open and transparent regarding the origins of COVID-19 and has shared information and data on the outbreak with the international community in a timely manner. She stated that China is the only country that has invited WHO experts more than once to come into the country to conduct joint origin study. Mao added that China has shared more data and research findings on the pandemic's origin study than any other country, making important contribution to global origins tracing. So who do you believe? Who knows? But for me, the thing I'm thinking about is kind of like with the previous story, with all the restrictions, lockdowns and so forth that were put in place, and all this new information where like now people can talk about this. It just makes you wonder how many things did people get wrong and enforced, for example, during those times. Alright, see you guys later.